Hello everyone, this is Nammernan, and today I will be doing a unusual video. I will be doing a prediction video for the upcoming finals match in MWP VII between the Victory Road Victinis and the Northern Vales. Now, typically I don't do videos like these because I don't like being critical of my fellow monotype players, but in this case I do think that I can give a relatively objective view of what I see, and I'll give good reasonings as to why I feel the way I do about who will win over the other. So, with that being said, let's start with the first matchup. Rio Vidal versus Twinke. Rio Vidal is a player that has done pretty decently. If we look at their replay history, we will see that they have a relatively okay win-loss streak. They have 4 wins and 4 losses in SV, so pretty even. And in those games that we have watched, because I've watched every single game of the tournament so far, I would say that Rio Vidal is definitely someone who does typically bring pretty standard teams, I would say. They don't take a ton of risks in their team building, which is fine, because taking risks in team building can sometimes not pay off. But I do think that, especially right now in the finals, you need to bring something that's a bit unexpected, because this is going to be the matches, or the time, where you'll see some very unusual strategies that will win games. This happens all the time in Pokemon, not just in Monotype, but in OU this happens, in VGC this happens. I mean, there's plenty of famous examples of this happening in VGC, but with that aside, I do think that Rio Vidal not being able to, or Rio Vidal's builder, because once again, I don't know if Rio Vidal builds their own teams or if they have a builder in their team. I'm not in the team cords, so I don't know, but the builder for Rio Vidal's team, I'm not sure if they just don't like taking risks. I mean, the Dragon team that they brought in the most recent match in the semis is definitely a risk that they took, but it didn't end up panning out. I'm not sure if that will scare them and make them want to go back to playing standard stuff. That's more comfortable for Rio Vidal to operate, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Rio Vidal, and their opponent is Twinke, I believe. Yes, Twinke. So Twinke has a near flawless record in SV. They have only lost a single time in SV, and it was with Flying, with a Moltres team. So, and yeah, they lost against Fairy. Not surprising, Fairy is literally one of the best types in the entire tournament so far, so them losing to that seems to make sense. But Twinke has a very, very good track record in SV so far, and they've played into a bunch of types and have done exceedingly well in every match. And I would go through all the replays of Twinke, but that would make this video way longer than it needs to be, so instead I will just talk about what I saw in those replays and the notes I took. I saw that Twinke is very confident on every team, so it looks like they do practice their unusual teams a lot. And I do believe that Twinke just is able to easily manage more unusual teams, which is something I think Rio Vidal may or may not struggle with. I'm not 100% sure, but I can definitely say, based on the matchup, if we were just comparing win statistics alone, I would say Twinke is definitely a bit more favored to win this matchup. But if we look at the types of players both of them are, Rio Vidal is definitely a very standard, by the books, standard player that just brings solid teams and tries to play as solidly as possible, given the matchup. While Twinke is definitely a little bit more out there with their team builds. I mean, you can see on their record right here, they brought Galarian Moltres, they brought Oriman and Latios on the same team, they used Milotic Water, and they brought Normal. Like, very unusual, well, not super unusual, but definitely very non-standard teams. And I think that the builder for the Northern Vales is probably going to cook something up that Twinke will be able to use very well against 3 of Vidal. So I do think Twinkie is favored here because of their builder's ability to create these really strong, unusual teams, and Twinkie's ability to pilot those teams to success a majority of the time. Unfortunate that week 7 it didn't go through, but yeah, Twinkie definitely the favorite here. So I'll say Twinkie wins the point for that. In the next matchup, we have Ziri versus Tari 25. So it's actually funny. I am re-recording this video because I did not know some of the players on this list. And one of those players was Tari 25. So I decided to do a little bit of research on this guy. And he's actually an exceptionally good player. As you can see, they do very well in a lot of tournament games. And they've done very well in monotype as well. So after doing that research and doing research on Ziri, my opinion hasn't really changed a ton, but my reasoning has definitely changed a bit. So before I get into that, let's just look at Ziri and Tari 25 individually. So Ziri has been doing really well, only 2 losses with a bunch of wins, and they bring a variety of teams. Now, I wouldn't really say they have a favorite, but they definitely do bring a lot of teams, and the one thing I want to note out is that they were one of the people that was able to win with a scary matchup for Fairy. Poison losing to Fairy is definitely something that is very feasible and possible to happen, but Ziri was able to pilot the team, and you guys watched the game with me last week, but you saw that Ziri was able to pilot the team really well and just completely turn the tides of that matchup with excellent play and just very good foresight and building on their side. So Ziri, definitely a very good contender to win this match, I would say. Just a very solid player in general. But his opponent is Tari 25, who as I said, is a very, very good player in monotype. And Tari 25 is also very good at the game, very solid, but the thing I know about Ziri, or I think the difference in quality between Ziri and Tari is that Ziri is able to use specific types a little bit more proficiently than I think a lot of other monotypers. So I think that this matchup will come down not to skill, but to the builder. Which, I mean, yes, every monotype match does come down to the builder, but I think the builder will play an even more pivotal role in this than usual. Because if we look back at Ziri's team, or Ziri's stats, Ziri brings a bunch of different types: Fairy, Ground, Ghost, Fire, and Steel, with a little bit of water attached there as well. And the only types that Ziri's lost with was with Fire, which we all know has been overprepped for in this tournament, and one time with Fairy, but it was against Fairy, so I mean, that makes sense. Comparatively, Tari has brought Fairy a couple of times as well, but he also brings water. And I want you to look at the water teams that he brought. These are very non-standard water teams, I would say. The Ogrepon Walking Wake team in particular is very unique, and the Pelipper Rain team with no electric immunity is also very good, and he managed to operate that really well against Dragon of all types. So Tari is definitely looking to be a threat if they bring water against Ziri, because it seems that Tari's builder, or Tari himself, whoever is Northern Vales' builder for SV, is going to be a threat if they bring water, because they seem to be very confident on the type, and their builder is very good at cooking with the type as well. Water is very versatile, so I think if they bring a water team, Tari takes the win, because Ziri might not be able to counter water very well, especially if they make a water that is able to defeat Fairy, who is looking to be very strong in this tournament. I mean, we've seen Fairy stats, it's like over 70% win rate with a good amount of games, one of the top pick types as well, so Fairy definitely going to be something that they're going to look out for while building. And that's not to say Ziri will also look out for Fairy, but I think that water as a type and the way that Tari has used water in this tournament, I think he has the edge if he brings a water team. Now, that's not to say that the series is completely hopeless if he brings a water team, but I do think that if they bring a water team, I think that's how the stalemate breaks. Now, if Ziri does bring a fairy team that is somehow able to deal with water, Tari's water team that's prepped for fairy, I don't know, but I do think that Ziri will also take the point. So, like I said, this comes down to the builder, but I do think that in the builder, I think Tari 25 might have him slightly edged out, especially since I've seen a lot of the other teams that he has built over the course of his monotype career. I definitely think that Tari 25 has the slight advantage in the builder, so I'll give the point to him. But yeah, I definitely think that Tari 25 probably has the advantage in the builder. I think Ziri's record does speak for itself, but I think Tart in this particular moment in the finals where a really creative team is what's going to bring the win, I think Tari 25's builder is going to take home that W. So we'll say that Tari 25 wins that. So next we have Fusion versus Chaitanya. So Fusion is also another player I did not know very well, but they are also a very, very talented, very good monotype player. They also come from the Tours community too, I believe. So they're very well versed in performing in tournaments and doing all that. They have a pretty decent record as well, with 5 wins, 3 losses in SV. They seem to prefer fighting quite a bit, and a little bit of dark. But there is really much else to note about them as a player. They do have a very aggressive playstyle, I would say, when it comes to how they make plays, so that could shake up Chaitanya, but Chaitanya is unfortunately a monotype veteran and also very experienced in tours. Chaitanya, I believe, started in monotype, then went to OU for a little bit, and then came back, or comes back to monotype every now and again when a tour happens. And as you see, Chaitanya was having a rough couple of weeks when the tournament first started, but hasn't lost a game since week 5. So I do think that Chaitanya is capable of beating a Fusion in this capability because it's basically his own turf in monotype again, and he also has played in the Tours community for quite a bit. So since both of them I would say are, I wouldn't say they're exactly equal in terms of skill in the Tours community, but I would definitely say that they are similar enough that I think the difference in their skill doesn't matter that much in terms of this monotype matchup. And I do think that Chaitanya might have the home advantage here due to the nature of him playing monotype a lot more in the past. That being said though, Fusion does have the better record and seems to be a lot more consistent with the teams he's been bringing. But I do know that Chaitanya is a very good builder, so I am a little inclined to give it to Chaitanya here, but I'm going to lean on Fusion just because the results that he's been putting in are pretty good, and I think that he wouldn't slack off, especially in the builder in this tournament. So I will give the point to him, but Chaitanya is definitely very, very scary here for Fusion to deal with. If Fusion was going against, I'd say, any other team, I think he would be a shoo-in for victory here, but Chaitanya is definitely the one person that could probably stop him in this particular spot. Him and obviously Twink Egg, but I definitely think Fusion is capable of beating Chaitanya here, and I'll give the point to him because of that. Next up, we have Michalder Best 2 versus Vadum, and Michalder is a very, very notable Tours community player, very good, tops OU and Ranbats. So this guy is kind of a beast, and he's going for a monotype team tour trophy right now. So we have a very talented player versus Vadum, who's kind of a monotype regular. And if we look at the records, this is a bit interesting, but I keep forgetting. But Michalder does not play. Sorry, but McAlder does not play SV at all, and this is his first match of SV. I think dumping a person into SV without them fully knowing the metagame or having played with the type, especially this late into the tournament, is a bit of a risk on the side of the Victinis here, and I think it is really risky to do this, especially in the final situation, but the opponent is Vadum, who hasn't won a single match yet in SV. So I guess the assumption here is that they think that they can build a somewhat good standard team against Vadum, and they'll be able to just clutch out the win because they don't believe Vadum is going to be capable of beating McAlder because of McAlder's very good fundamentals of Pokemon and just ability to play at a very high level compared to Vadum, who hasn't been performing that well in this tournament. And that's not me just flaming him, that's me just looking at the raw statistics. He hasn't won a single thing, so yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But I do think McAlder is probably going to... I'd have to say that McAlder is going to win, but Vadum is more experienced in Monotype, and Vadum is capable of building teams that can potentially throw off the standard builder of the Victini's team for a loop, so I wouldn't say Vadum's completely shut out yet, but I would definitely say favoritism-wise, or not favoritism-wise, but favorably, I think the point does go to McAlder the best. So yeah, that'll be it for SV. I can't really give explanations for the rest of these matchups due to the fact that I'm not super well versed in the rest of these metagames, but I do know the players, so if you want me to give a quick rundown. So first, to finish off, my prediction would be this. So let me just take the prediction template real quick and edit it. So right here we have Twinkie. I have Twinkie favored to win. Here I have Tare favored to win here. I have Fusion favored to win here. And I have McAlder favored to win here. So they're even when it comes to that. When it comes to this, Rinda is actually supposed to be their SV player, and we've seen Rinda do pretty well as well, versus Tenebris. I think we've seen... I don't think I said his name right. Tenebris. I think that's how I say that name. I'm sorry if I messed it up, but yeah. I will favor Rinda for this, because I know Rinda does well in SS in general. Sabella is a very good player, has been very good for a while, so, and I know them, so I think Sabella is also just one of the best overall Monotype players, I believe. So definitely makes sense to favor them for SM. 1TL has always been one of the most solid players and has one of the best records on the sheet, I believe, in all of Monotype tournament history. So very hard not to favor him there. No Matter What versus Dolly is a bit interesting because I don't really know for sure how Dolly has been lately. I knew them from the past, but I don't know them a lot currently. And I didn't know they also played a lot of BW. That's new to me, but I do think that in this particular matchup, I feel like I would lean on No Matter What. So I'll definitely lean on him a little bit. And for nat decks, we have Premonitions and Fixation. Premonitions, I think, is going to take this W very easily. After seeing a couple of their games, I can definitely tell that they know what they're going to do. So I would put them in. And then we have Ewin versus Taka. I'll put in Electric Wind because I believe that he is probably going to bring something that'll throw Taka for a loop. Especially in this type. Flying. Flying is a crazy mono threat type, so we're going to see some insane stuff there. But yeah, that will be my predictions. And once again, full respect to all the Monotype players in this tournament. This has been a very fun tournament to watch, and I wish the best of luck to every single player on the side of... on this team, or on the Victory Road Victinis and the Northern Vales, and also good job to all the other teams that played. There's a lot of fun matches, there's a lot of Well, I was just thinking about the 500 turn flying game, but aside from that, it's been great seeing just so many types, so many different types of teams, so many different archetypes, especially with water, and it was just a very nice tournament to watch, and it was a great tournament to spectate as well and predict metagame trends with. So that's all I really have to say, but I'll have more to say once the finals actually conclude sometime this weekend. So with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Take care.